disposed of it. The movie begins at an underground station where a little girl is seen walking there. Soon she is kidnapped and taken to a place full of strange men. One of the men sitting there is named Emil Dukesky. He is a Russian mobster as well as the leader of the mafia group. He kidnapped the girl for nothing but to ask for a series of numbers from a code, and we have not been told about the meaning of the code and why this little girl can know everything. Then the story continues on a few scenes before the incident, where this little girl named May is not like other children her age. May has a smart brain, like a computer, where she can calculate precisely, quickly, and accurately, and that makes her special from other children in her school, to the point that the principal intends to transfer her to a special school for smart people. When she came home from school with her friends, May was suddenly kidnapped by an unknown person. It turns out she was taken to her uncle, who is the leader of a Chinese gangster named Han Zhao. Besides having a smart brain, May also has a very good memory where she can memorize things in a short time. And the purpose of being taken there is to take her to America, where she will help her uncle's business affairs there. And she will be accompanied by one of her uncle's men, named Quan Cheng. On the other hand, we are shown with a free boxing match in which a man named Luke Wright competes with a man, but the match does not end well because Luke beats his opponent critically. Upset because the person who became his opponent was unbalanced. Then Luke went to the match committee and immediately hit him on the spot. Luke was furious because how could he get a comatose opponent with just a few punches? So this is how guys from the beginning of the match have been arranged so that Luke loses to his sparring opponent, but the match committee is so outrageous because Luke is paired with those who are too amateurish. The match committee also said he even lost more due to Luke's actions. People who should have won gambling last night even lost, and one of them is a Russian mafia leader who due to last night's match lost up to 15 billion, and Luke must understand the consequences that must be accepted at this time. $1 million! Which is nothing compared to what you forced. I'm the schmuck that set this whole thing up. Don't go home. If scared you, that's good. Feeling a bad feeling, then Luke rushed home and called his wife to tell her to leave the house immediately. But unfortunately, Luke was too late because his wife was killed by Emil's men. The boy is still there. There, Luke did not fight at all because he was so frustrated with the current situation. And there was also Emil's son named Vasily Dukesky, who at that time decided not to kill Luke, but he would make him suffer for the rest of his life by killing those closest to him. On the other hand, Quan Cheng has arrived in America, and he met a policeman named Captain Wolf, and he was the one who would take care of the move for May. There it can be seen that Captain Wolf is a corrupt policeman who works with criminals for personal gain, and that's why their gangster business can run smoothly. Meanwhile, in another place, Luke, who has no one else, decided to go out of town in order to avoid himself from the pursuit of the Russian mafia. 1 year passed, and now May works as an accountant to calculate all the income from all of Han Zhao's businesses in Chinatown. It's losing money. Meanwhile, Luke returned to his hometown and lived on the streets. Even now, he always comes to the homeless shelter to get a bite of rice and a decent bed. The next morning, Luke rushed to go to a mini-market, and on the way, he was hit by someone. Long story short, Luke had arrived at a mini-market to buy a piece of bread and drinks, but when he was about to make a payment, he just realized that his wallet was gone. It turns out that the person who hit him earlier outside the store was a pickpocket. And finally, Luke was forced to pretend to be crazy to cover his embarrassment. And because of that, he was expelled by the police officers who were there. Unexpectedly, the policemen recognized Luke's face, and they intended to take him somewhere to give him a few beatings. Could take a shot. When he got there, Luke was immediately beaten up by all of them. It turned out that Luke used to be a policeman who was so recognized for his greatness, and they were all his former colleagues in the past. But Luke decided to quit after knowing how rotten the police force was there, especially after it was revealed that his colleagues had committed a serious offense, and that made Luke retreat, and they all held a grudge against him. While on the other hand, Han Zhao, who had just arrived in China, gave a paper containing a series of numbers to May for her to remember. And Han Jiao there said the numbers were very important. May began to pay attention to the numbers, and in a short time she managed to memorize them all. Sure of his words, Han Jiao immediately burned the paper so that others would not know about it. Then May is taken to the next place, because she will be given a series of numbers again for her to remember. But on the way, they are attacked by the Russian mafia group. I'm sorry, I can't let them have me. And that's the beginning of the scene. May can arrive at Emil Duchesky's place. Then the story continues with the police force has arrived at the place of the Russian mafia that has kidnapped May, and the police are under the direct leadership of Captain Wolf. After that, Han Jiao asks Wolf to capture May, alive or dead, and he will be given a lot of rewards. At the same time, Emil also called Captain Wolf and asked him to withdraw all his troops, and in return Emil would give him 5% more than what Han Jiao would give. Shortly thereafter, without them realizing, it turns out that May managed to escape from there, and because of that, Emil offered a new deal in which he asked for a truce and would increase his reward by 7%. But Wolf rejected it outright because he felt there was something valuable owned by the girl, and because of that, he immediately directed all his men to search for May. Meanwhile, the disadvantaged Han Jiao side currently has no other choice but to start a war. Then the story moves on to show Luke standing next to the railroad tracks to commit suicide because he can't stand all his current suffering. But after seeing May's suspicious movements, he abandoned his intention. Not long after, the mafia group chasing May had arrived there, and seeing their presence, May immediately hid into the train, while Luke, who felt May needed help, also followed the direction of the train's journey. Disposed of it. After defeating the mafia, Luke immediately approached May, but at that time May looked so very scared and finally chose to run away. I don't know, they all look alike to me. May was actually still hesitant to follow Luke, but he was the only person who didn't force her to follow. From there, Luke entered a clothing store to change clothes and booked a 5-star hotel room, and all of that he paid using the credit card of the mobster he had killed. On the other hand, the Han Jiao gangster group finally found the location of May's current whereabouts after they managed to track down the cell phone previously carried by May. Meanwhile, in the hotel room, May and Luke talked to each other, and they talked about a series of numbers that May had previously memorized. And from here it was finally revealed why they all really wanted the number. It turned out that the series of numbers was a combination number code for a safe. And May also said there was still one more safe whose number was still unknown. Soon Quan Cheng and his men arrived at the hotel, and they made some noise there. I can call the police? I think maybe I could. Put your hands up. Luke and May, who found out about this, immediately left there. And before making an escape, May wrote the number combination on a paper to give to Luke. Meanwhile, Quan Cheng began checking every corner of the hotel, and they also began to capture all the visitors who were there. After a while, the police, who also managed to track May's whereabouts, immediately came to the scene. And because he had no choice, Luke finally faced them all. Over here. When their fight escalated, Mei, who tried to hide, was finally captured by Quan Chang, while Luke escaped jumping through the window. Back in Quanching, he finally managed to escape from the hotel by telling all the hotel visitors to get out of there at the same time. But at the end of his escape, their actions were discovered by the police, and in the end there was a shootout. Luke, who is currently still being chased by the police, steals a car to escape from there, and then he takes a taxi. Along the way, Luke looked very upset because he couldn't save Mei, and a moment later he suddenly got an idea to use his stolen cell phone to call Vasily, the son of the leader of the Russian mafia. By using the Russian language, Luke tricked Vasily. He claimed to be Vasily's subordinate. He asked Vasily's location to give the combination number of the safe he had successfully taken, and Vasily was happy to immediately tell his current location. On the other hand, Captain Wolf met with Major Tremolo, and he is the current mayor. It turns out that they both used to work together with Luke in one team. Their Tremolo said with his deadly skills, Luke was considered a very deadly threat, and only one person could stop the action. And afterward, Wolf also told Tremolo that Luke was involved with a little girl code holder. And because Mei has the targeted safe code, Tremolo orders Wolf to close the way out of the city. While in another place, Quan Chang called a man named Alex, and he said to change the location of the submission of the safe code number. Then the story moves to Luke, who has arrived at the place where Vasily is, and Luke immediately monitors the surrounding conditions first, so that the action runs smoothly. In short, the purpose of Luke meeting with Vasily is to hold him hostage in order to make Emil helpless. After that, Luke called Emil and forced him to tell the contents of the safe and the location where the safe was stored. Because if not, Luke threatened to use Vasily to reveal all important information about all his operations to his competitors, and he would also target his wife and young children. Hearing this, Emil was immediately helpless against Luke. He told him that the safe contained $30 million, and its location was in a casino. And the other safe contained something that was also worth $30 million, but its location was very far away. Luke thought that his mission this time was impossible to do alone, and he needed a small army to break into the place. Therefore, Luke called all his old friends, including Captain Wolf, to help him with a salary of $30 million divided equally. And because he knew all his friends were very cunning, Luke burned the paper containing the combination number of the safe, which he had remembered in his head, and they all had to protect Luke so that Luke would not be killed. After that, they started the action, and started by eliminating all the guards in the discotheque room. To avoid unwanted things, Luke told the three of them to put all their weapons on the floor, and he immediately opened the safe. Then Luke told Captain Wolf to open the safe, guided by him. After that, they got out safely and immediately left there. Then Luke tied the Captain Wolf and put it in the trunk of the car along with Vasily. While on the road, Luke called Tremolo to give Alex his number, because he was the one who held the combination number of the other safe. After that, Luke also called Alex, and there Alex said that the contents of the safe were a tape in which there were names of important people, traces of money, and other confidential information. Because the money that Alex was after was in the hands of Luke, inevitably Alex had to comply with his request, and Luke asked Alex to seize Mei from the gangster, led by Han Jiao. In short, Alex complied with the request, and when he got there, Alex was welcomed by Quan Chang and his troops. And it didn't take long for Alex to finish them all very easily. There we can see that the tactical skills possessed by Alex are greater than the skills possessed by Luke. And that means only Alex is the person who can defeat Luke alone. Like what Tremolo said before. This was on your private line. He says that Meanwhile, on the other hand, Luke arrived at Tremolo's room to ask him to give him the only copy of the tape. Long story short, the next morning, Luke came to the location he had agreed with Alex. Silently, Alex was ready with his weapon, and he had also gotten news about Luke's recent visit to the mayor's office. While making May as a hostage, Alex then asked to the point about where Luke kept his $30 million. Here actually, Alex had almost killed May, but Luke gave an unpredictable answer. He said the money could be in the bank, in a safe, or in another secret location. But in essence, to get a definite answer, Luke asked them to fight with their bare hands, and in the end, they fought. May decided to help Luke, because after witnessing the martial arts skills of Alex, she doubted Luke could win from him without being seriously injured, and Luke was very grateful that May had saved his life. From there, Luke released Captain Wolf and gave him $50,000 in reward money, while Vasily was also released by Luke. But Luke promised to kill him if Luke saw him once again. The $30 million ended up being returned to Hangzhou, along with a warning letter saying that if he targeted the two of them again, then all bank accounts and all confidential information would be leaked to the media. The tapes containing the disgrace of important people in the city of Manhattan have also been copied and distributed to several safety boxes in the bank. If one day there are state officials or mafia who threaten them, the tapes will become a powerful weapon. They both then decided to start a new life in another city, and Luke also planned to send May to a special school for talented people. And then the movie ended.